guys, this is Myiesha and I'm a beauty director here at Sephora, and this is all about basic eyeshadow application. You guys ask a lot of times that you want to see how I apply my eyeshadow or what eyeshadow I'm using, and I would say most of the time when it's neutral, it's probably Anastasia's Soft Glam. It's just one of my favorite palettes that has come out this past year. So we're gonna go in, I'm gonna try to make it as easy as possible and adapt it to different maybe eye shapes and eye looks. And remember, if you don't have my same eye shape or same skin tone, you can still follow along. There's lots of good tips and tricks in there. So let's get started. So I've already prepped my eyes with a bit of eye cream. This is the Ole Henriksen Banana Bright Eye Creme. So it has this yellow coloration to it, which is very brightening on all skin tones. And it also has a bit of pearlescence to it as well. So it gives you like this really beautiful highlighted look around the eyes. I don't get a ton of darkness, but I don't like to wear a lot of concealer under my eyes. So this helps me kind of get that bright, sort of awakened look. So I've already also put on some eyeshadow primer. So I use an old favorite. This is Urban Decay Eyeshadow Primer Potion. And I just use the original primer potion. There are different colors. I really love using Eden because it has this sort of like tannish, beigey color. If you have deeper skin, Caffeine is a really great color too. I just went with a translucent color. It's kind of blending into my foundation and it's giving a brightening effect like Eden would, but this is a really great one to have for almost all your eyeshadow looks. So I want to quickly go over eyeshadow brushes before I get started because that's half the battle right there. So the first kind of brush you'll need is sort of a shadow brush, an all over shadow brush. So I have 3 different sizes here just to show you if you have something in your collection that kind of looks like this, varying sizes and sort of varying densities as well. So this one is a tapered crease brush. I use this quite a bit whenever I do shadow, and it's a little bit denser. It sort of lays down color and blends it really nicely. This one is the blending brush, and this one is a little bit looser as far as the density goes, and it tends to blow things out really nicely. I like to apply color with this and sort of have a clean extra brush like the blending one just to sort of soften color. And if I want to do any sort of smoky effect or very tiny precision, or if I'm working on someone's eyes and they're a little bit smaller or a tighter space, I like to use something small like this. This is the drawing shadow brush. This works really well. But anything that's sort of elongated like this, that's a little bit poofier, almost like a little broom, is going to work really well for your blending. So if you want to do any smoky liner or smudging or apply a liner, you can use something like this. This is our Pro Shader brush. This is David's favorite brush. It's also one of my favorites as well. And it's very small. You can apply shadow with it if you want, if you have smaller lids or you're just doing the inner corner or something like that. But this is really great to smudge things, to apply maybe black just in the corners. It's a bit smaller, so you're going to get more precision and more control. So this is one of my favorite eyeshadow palettes. I feel like Anastasia has one of the best formulas out there. This is Soft Glam, and I just love it. It has all these beautiful warm brown colors, pretty much the perfect neutrals for me, and it also has some pinks in it because I love wearing pink shadow as well. I feel like it's very deep skin friendly as well, so if you're looking for a palette that has some really beautiful colors that are sort of bright and girly and glam, this is a really great palette as well. So I like the fact that a lot of the shadows in here are more of a medium intensity, and I'll talk about that in a second. But you have your lighter colors here, but you have a lot of colors that you can build a smoky eye with, or you can use in the crease, especially on deeper skin. It looks really, really good. And all the colors are nice and warm, even if they're more of a neutral tone, they lay on the skin really nicely. And something too, when you're working on eyeshadow, you want to think of your shadows as far as light, medium, and dark. So when you're using your medium color, that's the color that's most harmonious with your skin as far as intensity. And when I say intensity, I mean how light or how dark it is. If you have that color that's kind of like your nothing color that you can just swipe on and it just looks like your skin but better, that's your medium intensity color. So my medium intensity color is probably in the range of like the Sultry and the Rose Pink. Glistening and Fairy are a bit brighter for me, so they kind of add a highlight to my skin. So if you want to do something a little bit darker or have a deeper intensity, you could kind of go over this side of the palette. So when I'm talking about how I'm applying my shadows, I'll be talking about a medium color, a light color, and a dark color. So if you have lighter skin, think about how these colors are going to look different on you, and if you have deeper skin, think about how they're going to look on you as well. It's all about shadows and light and kind of giving your eye a little bit of shape, kind of like you would contour your face, you contour your eye. So I want a brighter sort of look. I don't want to go into smoky territory on my lid. So I'm going to go with a brighter, more light intensity shadow. And for me, that's Glistening. So Glistening is this gorgeous color. I probably need to get this in a single. It's my favorite color in the palette. And it's kind of like a warm gold with some sort of peachy pink flecks to it. So I'm just going to take that medium-sized shadow brush and apply this all over my lid. So I'm not doing a lot of frantic motions. I'm not sort of like ruffling up a lot of dust. I'm just kind of laying it down and really making it stick to my lid. That's kind of the key too. Less fallout and also getting a really impactful metallic shine. I don't want to see any skin through the shadow. That's also a look to a wash of color. When you hear that, that means you can kind of see the skin through the shadow. But I want it to be pretty pigmented. So I'm just going to go ahead and lay this down. So I'm just pressing it down. I'm not doing a lot of fluffing. I'm not kind of ruffling the shadow on. If you see a lot of dust coming off your eye, it's probably not the best thing if you're trying to get a nice pigmented shadow to lay down. I'm just kind of tapping it on, or you can swipe it as well. My nails are kind of long, but if I have a metallic shadow, sometimes I'll swipe it on with my finger. I'm using the number 14 shadow brush, which is kind of like the medium size. If I was doing a dark color, I'd use a smaller brush so I could have more control over not putting it too high. So I have my shadow on, and this is sort of like my in between a light and medium intensity for me. I want my eyes to be a bit brighter. It's more of a daytime look, so I'm going with a brighter color on my lid. If I wanted it to be a little bit more sultry, I'd probably use something that's a more medium or dark intensity on my lid. So I'm going in with a tapered crease brush. This is the number 19, and it doesn't have any products on it, and I'm just blending the crease. So I'm just blending the crease so I can't really see any of the shadow stop. I just want it to blend seamlessly into my skin. So I'm going to go into my crease, and I like this palette because it has a bunch of colors that are nice and warm, and they gradate from light to dark so I can build my crease up. If you start with a really dark color in the crease, there's not really a lot of room for you to blend, and it's quite hard. But if you start with more of a light to medium and kind of work your way up, then it's going to be really easy for you. So I'm starting with burnt orange, which is sort of like just a deeper color of my skin, which is perfect to put in the crease. And I'm just laying it down. And when you apply this color, you want to look straight ahead into the mirror. Don't tilt your head too back. Don't tilt your head forward, because you can't really see what it's going to look like when you're walking around. So just look straight ahead into the mirror. And this is where the term the windshield wipers come from. You probably heard of that. You're just going to go back and forth. If you don't really know how high or how low to go, good thing is to just sort of stick the brush into the orbital bone and let that guide the brush. You don't want to go too far in, because that's going to give you a bit of darkness once you get into the darker colors in the crease in a second. You just want to do maybe like the outer 2/3 of the eye. And the reason why we start with this lighter color is so we can really get in there and get a really good blend going before we get into the darker colors, which are a little bit harder to blend out. So if you want a really round look, you can just go ahead and do sort of a semicircle. I like my eyes to look a little bit more drawn out, so I sort of drag it out a bit as I'm applying. And if you apply too much shadow or you are not getting the blend you want, take a second brush. This is the blending brush, similar to this one like I talked about earlier, with no shadow on it, and just go ahead and blend. Or if you get any fallout, just take your brush and sort of flick it away. Same thing over here. So I would say if you have hooded lids, a really easy way to do this, instead of using a very bright color on the lid, which you probably won't see, using something that's a little bit more medium intensity is really nice, because you don't want to really want to do a lot of work when your eyes are hooded that you're not going to see. So it depends on how much visible lid space you have. Maybe use sultry or rose pink or something on your lid instead. That's really pretty as well. So you can stop at any time during the tutorial. If you just want to do the one color or the two colors and add some mascara and eyeliner, do that. I'm going to go in a little bit more to do more of a glam eye, something you can wear to a wedding, something you can wear out, something that looks really great in photos. So I want to go in and add a bit more definition to my crease. I'm going to go in with Rustic. I'm going to pop that in my crease again. And as I go darker in the crease, I'm not going very far in. If I were to add black, which I don't think I'm going to add a lot of black, I wouldn't go all the way in because it'd be a little bit heavy. So the darker I go in the crease, the further I'm keeping it out, because I want to draw my eyes sort of up and out. That gives more of an elongated look. So into Rustic, I'm kind of popping that in there. So I'm laying it on the crease and kind of creating a triangle effect from the outer corner to give myself kind of like a warm outer corner. If you want to build up your crease but softly, you can tap the color on and then go in and blend it as we did. I also like to tap the color on and then wipe off my brush just so it's clean and it blends better. Or you can grab a separate brush. I always keep a tissue at my vanity so I can clean my brush in between. And again, clean brush, fallout, just flick it outward. If at this point you feel like you went a little too dark with the color, which I think mine is fine, you can go back in with that original crease color, which would be burnt orange in our case, and just sort of fluff it out and lighten it up a little bit. I think this one's good. I use this palette all the time, so I'm pretty used to these colors. So I'm just building up the crease a little bit more. And again, you just want to relax when you do your crease, because if you raise your brows too much when you're trying to get in there, once you lower your brows, you're not really going to see the full effect of what you just did. So same thing over here. Placing that color down, and it blends really easily because we have that burnt orange in there as sort of a buffer color. So again, I have my crease done. I'm just going to pop a little bit in the outer corner, because when you're thinking about your eyeshadow, you sort of think about what you look like looking straight forward, but you also want to think about what you look from the side, especially if you're getting married or taking photos. You're going to get that really beautiful photo from the side. You also want your eyeshadow to be very done from all angles. So making sure you sort of don't have any weird gaps where your shadow stops in the outer corner. So I'm just kind of filling up sort of maybe like the 1/3 of the corner in here, to make sure it has some nice definition, and just kind of blending that. I can go into Sienna now. I go into Sienna. And there's really no rhyme or reason as to which shadow colors I'm using in the crease. I just start from lightest to darkest. Sometimes I like to do a neutral, like rustic is very neutral. And then if I want to warm it up a little bit, I'll use some of the warmer colors, like Sienna is a little bit more pinky brown. So just have fun with it. Go as dark as you want to go as warm or as neutral as you want to go. I find it's much easier to build your crease than to rely on just one dark color. Okay, so I'm going into the crease again with Sienna, and it's slowly getting smokier and more dimensional, and it's much easier to blend than if I were to go just into one color. And then you can see the color that I put on first starting to fade a little bit because I'm doing so much blending, but we're going to touch that up in a second. So I like to go pretty high up with my shadow. This is all about your comfort level and how much space you have. I have a lot of vertical space from my lash line to my brow bone, so I can go pretty high and it sort of fills it up. If you don't have a lot of space, I would keep it nice and tight. Maybe use the lower lash line as more of your smoky point. So just think about the dimensions of your eye and where you have space and where you don't have space. So clean brush, you can just blend a little bit to make sure you're happy with it. Now you're going to go back into that original color, glistening, and just kind of touch up the color that you put on your lid. If you're doing a cut crease, this is the point where you can cut your crease. I usually don't wear a cut crease because my eye creases are kind of uneven. So I'm just going in and patting that shadow on. You can see the difference of sort of revamping that original color. So you can see the difference between touching up the color once I'm done with all my blending, and then the color over here, you can leave it, but sometimes it looks a little weak and it gets a little smaller as you blend your browns or your crease color. So I like to go in and touch it up. And I'm just tapping on. If you want your actual eyelid to look bigger, you would go a little higher with this. If you want the crease to look a little bit smokier, you can keep it a little bit lower. I like my lid to look a little bit higher and a little bit rounder. I feel like it kind of gives a 70s vibe of that metallic sort of eye. So I'm going up a little bit higher and then taking that crease brush with nothing on it and just softly blending it. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little shadow in the lower lash line. So if you're doing a lot of work and it's nice and sultry and dark on top, if you don't do a little bit on the bottom, it tends to look a little bit unbalanced. So a good rule of thumb, I think Jeffrey always uses this rule, is whatever you put on top as far as the intensity, use about half of that on the bottom. So I'm going to go in and use the same colors, the same sort of crease colors on the bottom. And I'm just taking my crease brush and just kind of ribbing the lower lash line. So I like a very big sort of halo of smokiness. I like it to go pretty far down. So if you don't want it to go as far down, you can take a smaller brush. It's just a small shadow brush and use that. I don't mind if it gets a little bit out of control on my lower lash line. I feel like that sort of adds to the drama. And once I have lashes and eyeliner on and everything, it looks really soft. So I'm just using Sienna and Rustic underneath my eye. Same colors I used on top. Just kind of wrap around. And you can see that it looks like almost a complete smoky or eye look versus this one just looks a little bit unbalanced. So I don't need to use any black, but if you guys are curious on how to use black, I was always very scared of black when I was using shadow growing up. So I would take a small brush. This is my shader brush number 18, and I'll just dip in a little bit of the black because you don't need much. And if you want more definition before you put your liner on, you're just going to tap the black on right in the corner. Kind of in that corner and going up, almost creating a little V or a little triangle. So it doesn't have to be perfect as long as it's nice and precise and you're not blowing it out too big. You just want to tap a little bit of that black on. And then you're going to go into your crease brush again. We're going to dip into a little bit of a darker brown, Cypress Umber. And we're just going to use very small, short strokes because we don't want to use very long strokes because we're just going to drag the black all over our eye. So very controlled strokes and just kind of blend that black in. So this is if you want to do something a little bit darker, a little bit more sultry, you can use a little bit of black in your eye look. So I'm just wiping my brush off in between. Now, if you started out with black, it'd be pretty difficult for you to blend black into nothing. But because we have all those nice transition colors underneath, it's pretty easy for us. And also, black can be it's a neutral color. So it can be almost grayish on some skin tones. So if you want to warm it up a little bit, you can take some of your warmer colors like sienna or even mulberry and kind of tap a little bit of that in there to kind of warm it up a little bit. It's all about balancing it out so it doesn't look too neutral on you. Okay, so you can see the difference between using a little bit of black. It adds a little bit more definition. It's a little smokier, and it's a little bit darker on the outer corner. Totally optional, but if you want to know how to use black, I feel like some people are afraid of black. I totally was too. You just want to use it sparingly. Unless you're doing a full black smoky eye, then go for it. So I'm going to go into some eyeliner. I'm going to be using a liquid liner, but I always use a pencil liner before I use my liquid liner. A lot of times it just looks more finished. Getting between the lashes with a liquid liner is very difficult. You don't want to get liquid liner in your eye. It just does not work. So using a pencil beforehand is, I think, 10 times easier. So I'm just using this Marc Jacobs highliner in Earthquake, which was a deep matte brown. So I'm just tightlining. I feel like for me, my inner corner is the most important part. That's where you can sort of see where my eyeliner stops when I apply liquid. If you're blonde, this is a super important step to make sure your lashes look super dark. You can use a little bit of liner on the bottom. I don't really apply a lot of liner on the bottom because I like more shadow on the bottom. I feel like it closes my eyes off a little bit, but it's all preference. And if I put it on, I'm putting it on the lashes and not in the waterline. That's just where I prefer it. And then I like to blend it with my finger. Okay, so I'm going to go into mascara. I actually apply mascara before I apply liquid liner. I find that it's easier to see the shape of my eye once I have a bit of mascara on. So I'm going into the Benefit They're Real mascara. But I just love how the brush sort of pulls your lashes. I have long lashes, but they're super fine. And they have no thickness to them at all without a good mascara. So I usually like to sort of roll this mascara and it actually grabs into the lashes and pulls them. Not a lot of brushes can grip your lashes really well. It has little spikes on it too, so you can turn it vertically and get into those little areas that are hard to get to. So same thing, just kind of applying the mascara on the top and then coming on the bottom as well. Again, if you have blonde lashes, applying your mascara on the top is really important to make sure everything looks nice and dark. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do the bottom lashes. I don't really like my bottom lashes to look very long. I just want them to look dark. So I'm just kind of placing the brush and wiggling it. I'm not doing a lot of dragging down. Okay, so now we're going to go into a little bit of liquid liner. So I'm really only going to do the corners. I'm going to use my Stila Stay All Day waterproof liner. And this is a felt tip. So as you guys know, if you watch the channel, I'm kind of bad with felt tips, but I find this one to be pretty easy. So we're going to go in and just add a little bit on the corners. And the reason why I do my mascara and my eyeliner and everything before I do liquid liner is I can see the corner lashes and kind of the shape they're taking on, and I can kind of follow that. So I'm just doing a little bit and starting it off, and then I'm going to do it over here and start that off as well. And I only really do the corners because I have less visible lid space on this eye, my right eye. So if I do a really thick liquid liner, it'll pretty much take away all my visible lid space, which I have more lid space over here. If you have uneven eyes, which 99.9% of people have uneven eyes some way or shape or form, it's just easier to kind of get all the lid space you can. So I don't really like to go in and do a very thick line. So I'm really only concentrating on the outer corner. So I think that looks somewhat even. So I'm just going to go ahead and continue. So I would say this is the point where you want to give it a final look. A lot of times when you're struggling with your eye look and you don't know if you like it, just add some liner, add some mascara, get the finished look on, even if you have to go ahead and put on your cheek and your lip and everything, and then assess if you need to apply more. So if you want to apply more crease color, if you want to apply more on the bottom, this is the time to do it. I always feel like I have so much eyeliner and so much eyeshadow on, and then when I finish, I'm like, I could add a little bit more. So if you want to add a little bit more, which is always the case for me, I could add a little bit of mulberry in the crease because I have on my liner and mascara and I can see the shape a little bit more, and it comes together a little bit more once I have everything on. So this is always me. I'm always like, oh, I have enough in the crease, and then once I have everything on, then I apply a bit more. And because I applied a bit more on the top, I'm just going to take a little bit and apply it on the bottom. So this is the time for you to sort of give yourself that last little look over. Don't stress out as you're applying it because you'll just keep applying eyeshadow forever. So there you go. This is sort of our basic eyeshadow 101. If you want to dive into eyeshadow, you don't really know where to get started, this should help you get going. Watch the video a few times. You're never going to get a look on the very first try. It's all about practice when you're starting out. If you want to see something else, I don't know, maybe a smoky eye or a glitter eye or something like that to add on to your basic eyeshadow 101, let us know in the comments. And as always, please subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any content, and I will see you next time, guys. Bye.